Okay, today we're going to talk about a story that's, well, incredibly disturbing. It also gained a lot of attention because of this really strange link to a fictional character.
Yeah, we've looked through the sources you shared, and it pieces together this complex and pretty horrifying story of Wade Wilson. He ended up with this grim nickname, the Deadpool Killer.
So our goal here is really just to walk you through his life based on these sources, the crimes, the escalation, and then these really unsettling reactions that came afterward.
Exactly. Using the details in the material to try and understand, how things unfolded the way they did.
It's quite a journey the sources lay out from what looked like a pretty normal childhood, actually, to just unimaginable violence.
Yeah.
And then this bizarre pop culture connection layered on top. So let's get into what the sources tell us about Wade Wilson.
Okay, so the sources start with his birth. Wade Wilson, born May 20th, 1994, down in Florida.
And his beginnings were tough, right?
Very tough. His biological mother was incredibly young, maybe 14 or 15. The sources mention she struggled badly with substance abuse, addiction, and some unspecified mental health problems.
So his biological parents just couldn't care for him?
No, not at all. And because of that, he was put up for adoption when he was only about 6 months old.
But he was adopted?
Yes, by Steve and Candace Wilson in Ocala, Florida. And the sources describe them really positively, wealthy, comfortable, but also really kind, helpful people. They apparently treated Wade just like their own son, even though they already had 2 daughters.
Huh. So his early childhood sounds okay, based on that.
It really does. Looking at the sources, he's described as, a nice kid, did well in school, athletic, even went to church with his adoptive parents. Seemed pretty normal.
But then things change. The sources pinpoint a shift around adolescence, right? About age 14.
Yeah, a really significant shift. His whole personality seemed to change. He became moody, irritable, got angry really easily.
Lost interest in school and stuff.
Completely.
Yeah.
Dropped activities, schoolwork suffered, and he started hanging out with students the sources describe as troubled. That's when he started smoking cigarettes, then marijuana.
And it wasn't just typical teenage acting out, was it?
No, it escalated. The sources mention one incident where he nearly started a fire smoking in a school bathroom, and then, much more seriously, he actually stole his adoptive father's car and was just gone for 3 days.
Wow. And his reason for doing things like that?
This is what stood out in the sources. He'd often just say something like, a thought just came into my head and he wanted to try it. Made him really hard to predict, apparently.
Bad. His poor adoptive parents must have been frantic.
Oh, absolutely. Deeply concerned about his mental health. The sources say they actually used Florida's Baker Act, that's for involuntary mental health treatment, trying to get him help.
Did it work?
Sadly, no. The sources indicate the treatment didn't really lead to significant improvement. There was even some suggestion mentioned in the material that maybe his drug use had caused permanent brain damage.
Though they also mentioned other possibilities.
Right, like a past car accident or maybe head injuries from sports. Hard to know for sure what was going on there.
So, clear problems early on, intervention that didn't seem to help much, and then he started getting into actual trouble with the law.
Yeah, around 18 or 19, the sources say he started with petty crimes, mostly theft. Landed him his first prison stint in 2013, theft and having a firearm. He got out in 2014.
And then something much more serious happened in 2015.
Yes, a really disturbing allegation. He was 21, met a woman at a party, invited her to his car to smoke marijuana. The sources then describe a horrific assault, choking her, forcing her into the back seat, physically assaulting and raping her.
Oh my God, did he let her go?
He did eventually, and she went straight to the police, reported it.
But the sources say nothing happened.
That's the shocking part. Despite her report, confirmed injuries, the whole thing, the case didn't move forward. The reason cited was insufficient evidence. He was acquitted.
That's chilling. The sources kind of flag that moment, don't they?
Yeah.
It's potentially critical.
They really do. Suggesting that lack of consequence might have, paved the way for what came later. He did end up back in prison briefly in 2017 for stealing another firearm. Got out in 2018.
There was another weird incident mentioned, too, involving a murder case.
Yeah, the Michael Williams murder in 2018. While Wade was in jail before, a cellmate claimed Wade offered to help him fabricate evidence, even kill witnesses in his case.
Seriously?
That's what the cellmate claimed. But again, according to the sources, Wade was cleared. Insufficient evidence, same reason.
So you see this pattern building in the sources. Escalating behavior, serious allegations, but somehow no major consequences sticking.
Exactly. which brings us to these truly awful attacks on women he was involved with right before the murders.
He started seeing Kelly McClish in 2018.
Yes. And the sources say he was charming at first, but that changed drastically once cocaine got involved. He became physically violent.
And the attack on her in February 2019, the sources are incredibly detailed.
They are. They'd agreed to drive to rehab together, like a 3.5-hour drive. But partway there, Wade just flipped, got angry, demanded she pawn her laptop for drug money.
And when she said no,
that's when the assault started. The sources describe him choking her so badly she had bruises, beating her repeatedly, pushing her onto the road.
On the road.
Yeah. Then slamming the car door on her foot hard enough to break her ankle, dragged her into the back seat, used a knife to cut her clothes off, gagged her with the fabric, and then raped her right there in the car.
That's just horrific. What happened after? Did he just leave her?
It gets even stranger, according to the sources. He tied her hands and feet, put her in the trunk, drove to a McDonald's, got food, ate it, sold her phone for $50, drove around for maybe 2 more hours.
With her tied up in the trunk?
Yes. Then he untied her, said he was sorry, gave her back her car key, and just walked off.
Unbelievable. Kelly reported this, right? I mean, broken ankle, bruises.
She did. Went to the police. Hospital confirmed her injuries. They took hundreds of photos. But the sources are very clear. The case just stalled. No arrest was made.
Why not?
Kelly was apparently told by the police that Wade claimed it was all consensual, like sadism they both agreed to, which she, of course, strongly denied.
So another serious assault reported. Evidence. And again, nothing. The sources really emphasize this point.
They do. They suggest this police inaction, especially after the earlier acquittal, tragically gave him the chance to offend again.
And he did. Just months later, he started a relationship with Melissa Vasquez, or Mila.
Right, Mila Vasquez, 36 years old, owned a spa. And again, the sources say he seemed great at first, funny, attentive.
But it didn't last long.
Not at all. Within 2 weeks, the sources say the violence started, choking her repeatedly.
And then another major attack.
Yeah.
June 2019.
Yes, an argument in the car. The sources describe him choking her until she passed out, forcing her into the back seat. She woke up tied, blindfolded. He took her to a docked boat and raped her there.
Did Mila report it?
She did, initially. But then the sources say she withdrew the complaint. Wade apologized, blamed it all on drink and drugs, even claimed he was bipolar and promised to get treatment.
And she gave him another chance.
Tragically, yes. The sources paint this incredibly bleak picture, escalating violence, clear patterns, but he's essentially getting away with it, leading right up to October 2019.
Okay, so October 6, 2019. Wade and Mila were supposed to go to a nightclub, Buddha Life.
Right, but they argued first. Wade wanted to stop at a friend Jason's house. Mila didn't want to. So Wade dropped her off with her friend, but he took her car.
Took Mila's car.
Okay.
So Wade goes to the club alone.
Yes. And there, the sources say, he meets Kristine Melton, who is 35, and her friend Steffi Seller.
Kristine sounds like such a lovely person from the descriptions the server took care of her mom who had dementia, just known for being kind.
And Wade wasn't using his real name. No, he introduced himself as Junior. The sources say he came across as charming, good-looking, charismatic. After the club closed, the three of them, Kristine, Steffi, and Junior, went over to that friend Jason Shear's house to keep partying.
Until dawn, apparently. Then they decided to head to Kristine's place.
Yeah, in Cape Coral. But Wade was too drunk to drive Mila's car, so he left it at Jason's. They took a taxi to Kristine's house.
The taxi drops them off. Steffi leaves, has to work, see her son. So it's just Kristine and Junior, Wade.
Right. And Wade claims he's still too drunk to go anywhere, asks if he can just crash there. And Kristine, being kind, like everyone said she was, agreed.
And that led to the morning of October 7th.
Yes. The sources detail the absolutely horrific murder of Kristine. While she was asleep, Wade, based on his later confession, went into her room and attacked her.
He choked her.
Choked her. She woke up, fought back, broke her nails, struggling, but he overpowered her. The sources note he was a big guy, like 6'6".
The beating was severe too, wasn't it?
Horrific. He apparently used curtains to beat her brutally. The sources state she died from the strangulation, but also from massive internal injuries, bleeding. Her lungs and liver were damaged. He then wrapped her body in a bed sheet and just left her there in the house.
And then he just left.
Around 8 a.m. that morning, October 7th, the sources say he stole her black Nissan car keys, took her phone, and drove away in her car.
And then he calls Mila from Kristine's phone.
Unbelievably, yes. Mila recognized his voice, obviously wanted her own car back. They arranged to meet up at her spa.
But when Mila got there, it wasn't her car. It was Kristine's Nissan.
Exactly. And according to the sources, Wade immediately tried to pull her into the Nissan. She fought him, managed to get away, started running.
He chased her.
Chased her right onto the spa's balcony, and then just unleashed this incredibly violent beating, kicking her, punching, slapping, choking her again, threatening to kill her.
The sources describe him sliding her head against the wall.
Yeah, by her neck, and punching her so hard in the face that blood splattered, just pure rage.
But then he stopped.
Suddenly, yeah. Just stopped hitting Mila, ran back to Kristine's stolen Nissan, and drove off.
Mila called the police immediately.
She did. Hid first, then called 911, reported the assault, described the black Nissan he was driving, and the sources note, this time, she was done. No more chances.
So Wade is now driving around in Kristine's car after attacking Mila.
Driving aimlessly, it seems, and later that morning around 10 a.m., the sources say he spots Diane List walking to work.
Diane was 33.
Yeah, a bartender, single mom of 2 boys, actually about to get married. Known for being super reliable. Her workplace was really close to her home, only like 800 meters.
How did he get her in the car, do the sources say?
It's not totally clear how he got her in the car, but they say he pulled up next to her in the Nissan, rolled down the window. Then, while they were driving, according to his confession later, he just suddenly started choking her until she passed out. He thought he'd killed her.
So he drove somewhere to dump the body.
Yes, to a wooded area behind a convenience store. He dumped her body there. But then, the sources detailed this absolutely sickening turn. Diane wasn't dead. She started to stir, maybe wake up.
Oh no.
And Wade saw this. So he got back in the car, put it in reverse, and just drove back and forth over her body more than 10 times, the sources say. Just completely crushing her. That's how Diane died.
That is just beyond comprehension. When was her body found?
Not until October 10th. Her colleagues reported her missing. It was totally out of character for her not to show up. Her sons hadn't seen her either. A search started, and then, tragically, vultures circling overhead led the police to her body behind that store, identifying her as Diane List. Just devastating news for everyone who knew her.
Okay, back to October 7th, the day of the murders. Wade is still driving Kristine's car.
Right. Around 3 p.m., the sources say he parks the Nissan in a restaurant parking lot. An officer actually approaches the car. He's following up on Mila's assault report from earlier. He has no idea about the murders at this point.
What did the officer see?
Wade was bare-chested, looked really nervous, claimed he was just waiting for his girlfriend. The officer ran the plates, saw it was the car linked to Mila's assault report, called for backup, told Wade to stay put, turn the car off.
But Wade didn't stay.
Nope. Restarted the car and just drove off.
Oh.
The officer didn't chase him immediately at high speed because, as far as he knew then, it was still just a misdemeanor assault case he was dealing with.
Where did Wade go then?
He drove to a sign shop, Maddie's Magic, owned by someone he knew, Joshua Lucan. The sources describe Wade showing up still bare-chested, bloody, even missing front teeth. Asked Joshua straight up for a bus or plane ticket to get out of town.
Did you say why?
He confessed. Told Joshua he'd killed 2 people, described leaving one body wrapped in a sheet and running the other one over with the car repeatedly.
Oh, wow. What did Joshua do?
Joshua realized he was dead serious. He played along, pretended he'd help, said he needed to step out for a smoke, and secretly called 911.
Smart move.
Definitely. But when Joshua went back inside, Wade was gone. He just vanished, left the Nissan there.
So the police arrived at the sign shop.
Yeah. Found the Nissan, examined it, linked it definitively to Kristine Melton. They tried contacting Kristine, couldn't reach her, so they called her friend Steffi.
And Steffi told them about Junior.
Exactly. Steffi mentioned Kristine had been with this guy, Junior, and the police immediately put it together. Junior must be Wade Wilson. He's got Kristine's stolen car. They feared the worst for Kristine.
They went straight to her house.
Right away. No answer at the door, so they forced entry. And inside, they found her body wrapped in the sheet, confirmed murder.
Where had Wade gone after leaving the sign shop?
The sources say he broke into a random house nearby, showered, stole some clothes, helped himself to food and drink, and from there he called his biological father, Stephen Testaseca.
His biological dad. Did his dad believe him?
Not at first. Apparently, Wade often called when he was drunk or high, talking nonsense. But this time, Wade gave him specific, horrible details about both murders.
And the dad realized it was true.
He did. And he noted something chilling the sources mention. Wade sounded excited, almost proud, not sorry at all. Stephen asked him why. Why did you do it?
What did Wade say?
His answer, according to the sources, "I don't know, Dad, I just wanted to."
I just wanted to. Wow. Did the father help him?
He apparently played the recording of the call for his wife. They considered helping him for a moment, the sources say, but decided against it. Stephen called Wade back, pretending he would help, said he needed the address where Wade was hiding.
And Wade gave it to him.
He did. Stephen immediately called the police and gave them the address.
So they arrested him there.
Yes. Police went to the address Stephen provided and arrested Wade Wilson, 25 years old, later that same day, October 7th, 2019.
So despite that incredibly detailed confession to his own father,
he denied everything afterwards. To the police, to the media, the sources indicate he claimed he wasn't a monster, would never kill anyone.
But the evidence must have been overwhelming.
Completely. Physical evidence, DNA, circumstantial stuff, it all pointed straight at him. He was formally charged on November 19th, 2019. First-degree murder for both Kristine and Diane, plus the battery on Mila, grand theft for the cars, burglary. The whole list.
The trial took a while, though.
Yeah, delayed because of COVID-19. And while he was waiting in jail, the sources show he didn't exactly keep a low profile. More charges piled up.
Like what?
Attempted escape, for one. September 2020, accused of trying to pry open window bars with his cellmate. Then in April 2023, he got busted for being involved in smuggling contraband cigarettes, drugs into the prison. A police dog found a package.
So still causing trouble even locked up.
Seems like it. The sources also mention that between 2019 and 2024, he joined a gang called Unforgiven, described as a big white supremacist group in the Florida prison system.
And his appearance changed dramatically too, right? The tattoos.
Yeah, the sources really highlight this. He got covered in tattoos in prison. Many of them explicitly linked to white supremacy, hate groups, just really aggressive stuff. A small swastika under his eye, a huge one on his scalp, phrases like "born for war," skulls, "ha ha ha," "why so serious," even Joker-style smile scars.
Which must have made quite an impression when the trial finally happened in June 2024.
Definitely. The sources say he flat out refused his lawyer's advice to cover them up for court. His look was described as striking, aggressive, unsettling. Even his own lawyer looked visibly frustrated.
What was the prosecution's main argument?
Pretty straightforward, just on the sources. He killed them because he simply wanted to. They hammered on his confession to investigators where he apparently said, "Once I killed one, I would do it again."
He admitted the details.
Admitted beating them severely to overpower them, choking them to stop them screaming, admitted running Diane over repeatedly, and crucially, admitted that Mila only survived because she got lucky and escaped. He would have killed her too. They painted him as completely remorseless, fully responsible.
And the defense, what could they argue?
They focused on his mental health, his troubled background, the drug abuse, basically arguing those things were the cause, maybe lessening his responsibility.
But the prosecution pushed back on that.
Hard. They presented psychiatric evaluations that found no major brain damage that could explain his actions. And they made the point, lots of people use drugs, even struggle with addiction, but they don't become murderers. Drug use alone wasn't an excuse.
Then came the victim impact statements. Those must have been powerful.
Incredibly so, based on the source descriptions. Kristine's cousin, Samantha Turner, talked about Kristine's kindness, how she dreamed of being a mom, how that future was stolen, and the devastating effect on her elderly mother with dementia, who Kristine was caring for.
And Diane's son spoke too.
Yes, her 19-year-old son, Shane Romero. He said Diane was his whole world, especially after losing his father. He talked about how her murder meant she'd miss seeing him play in his band for the first time, miss him growing up, getting married, having kids, all those milestones. The sources even mentioned he said he nearly took his own life after she died. Just heartbreaking.
So after all that, the verdict.
Guilty. Found guilty of first-degree murder for both Kristine and Diane, guilty of the battery on Mila, all the other charges too, and then the jury recommended the death penalty.
How did people in the courtroom react? The families.
The sources described really raw emotion. Cheering, crying,
Oh.
relief mixed with grief, So some apparently said right then and there they planned to be at his execution.
And Wade's reaction to the verdict, the testimony, the death sentence.
This is maybe the most disturbing part highlighted in the sources. Absolutely no remorse, no emotion. He apparently shrugged when Mila's friend was testifying about the beating, smirked, maybe even smiled during those heartbreaking victim impact statements, sat there impassively when the death sentence was recommended.
Didn't he say something afterward?
Yeah, the sources note he actually asked the court to speed up his transfer to death row. Just cold.
What about his adoptive parents, the Wilsons?
They didn't come to the trial, according to the sources, but they sent a letter In it, they apologized to the victims' families for what Wade did, took some responsibility for how he was raised, but asked the court for leniency, life in prison, not death.
Did Wade react to their letter being read?
No reaction at all, the sources say. Just sat there wiggling his foot.
So the trial ends, he's sentenced to death. But the story takes another strange turn with the public reaction.
Yeah, this is where the Deadpool killer nickname really took off in the media, partly because a new Deadpool movie was out around then. Just that name connection, Wade Wilson.
And this led to fans.
Unbelievably, yes. The sources document this bizarre phenomenon where a group of women became, infatuated with him, started fan clubs, support groups on social media, especially TikTok.
What were they posting?
Flattering photos and videos of him from court, calling him handsome, saying his smile is cute. Some even made these weird edits comparing him and his female lawyer to the Joker and Harley Quinn.
That's deeply disturbing.
It gets worse. The sources mention he received thousands of letters in prison, 4,000 or 5,000, including nude photos, marriage proposals. People actually started campaigns trying to get his death sentence overturned.
What about Kelly McClish, the woman he attacked before the murders?
She spoke out, thankfully. The sources say she posted online about the horrific violence she suffered, how the police didn't help her back then, and just her absolute hatred for Wade. Said she wants to be there when he's executed.
How did his newfound fans react to her speaking out?
They attacked her, bullied her online, made cruel comments comparing her looks to Wade's. Some acknowledged he did bad things, but, he's still handsome. They defended him, claimed he looked innocent or sad in court photos, made videos supporting him and attacking the justice system. Just awful.
Is there a name for that kind of attraction?
The sources mention Hybristophilia. It's basically an attraction to people who commit outrageous or horrible crimes. Sometimes linked to things like low self-esteem, maybe wanting to feel close to someone seen as powerful or dangerous, or even this strange idea of wanting to change or save them.
So where is Wade Wilson now?
According to the sources, he's been moved from county jail to Florida State Prison. He's on death row, awaiting execution.
How long does that usually take in Florida?
The sources estimate the average wait is long, 18 years, maybe more. And in Florida, when the time comes, inmates get a choice: electric chair or lethal injection.
So we've traced this whole story from the sources, the difficult start, the escalating violence that seemed to go unchecked, the horrific murders, and finally, death row.
Yeah, and the sources really throw that stark contrast into relief, don't they? The absolute devastation and suffering of his victims, Kristine, Diane, their families, survivors like Kelly and Mila, right alongside this bizarre, almost surreal online fascination with the killer himself.
It's hard to reconcile those two realities, the very real pain versus this strange glorification.
You think about Kelly and Mila having survived what they did, and then having to see people online fawning over the man who did that to them. It's just another layer of trauma.
Definitely. The sources show the horrific acts, the immense human cost, and then this very modern twist of online notoriety and fandom.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What does it say about us, maybe about how we process things now in the digital age, that someone who committed these atrocities can get a fan base, especially when it seems partly fueled by something as superficial as sharing a name with a comic book character?
And the way victims and survivors then get treated online by those fans, it's troubling. It definitely leaves you thinking about that weird intersection of media, true crime obsession, public perception, and the actual deep-seated pain these events cause. Something to chew on.